Last week, we finished our 10-week series on the birth pangs of the end times. Today, we're excited to start a new series we're calling God at War and Humanity Caught in the Crossfire. We're going to explore the biblical truth that there are real spiritual powers in rebellion against God, and humanity is right in the middle of the conflict, not as bystanders, but as participants. Much of what we'll discuss will be new to most Christians. We're about to face some challenging parts of the Bible head-on. To understand this war and how it affects our world today, we have to go back to the very beginning, to the first battlefield, the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, so let's hop into Genesis 3 here and discuss what's going on in Genesis 3. So in Genesis 1, we basically have the poem of how earth is created and how that creation is made. Then we get into Genesis 2, which describes how humanity in the garden is created. And then we get into Genesis 3, and all of a sudden at the start of Genesis 3, we have Eve obviously going out and looking for food. And she's in the middle of the garden because she's around the two trees, the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life, because they're in the midst, they're in the middle. And then there's this creature that shows up, and we call it a snake. Hebrew, it's Nahash. And so there's question of what this creature really is. Nahash can mean shining one. When you think about the serpent that Moses is to make, it's a bronze serpent. Well, that bronze serpent would do what in the sun? And it would shine, yeah. Right? So there's your Nahash right there, this shining one. So the question is then, where does this being come from? You know, it's just out of nowhere. Here it comes, and it whispers to Eve. It says, you know, did God really say this? And the interesting thing is you can look at the Bible and it's not real clear that God actually told Eve anything. It's clear that he told Adam. Mm-hmm. And so you could then maybe think, okay, well, maybe it was Adam's job to tell Eve. And so maybe Adam didn't make it clear. But then it would be Adam or Eve not trusting Adam's word and not Eve not trusting God's word. So it kind of gets into semantics there if that's the case.
I tend to believe he just didn't make it clear to her.
Yeah. And so then we have Eve that says, well, it looks good to eat. Yeah, sounds pretty good to be like God.
And, you know, another thing is that's the first example of God building, or a man building a fence around the commandment, because she said, you can't even touch it. Yeah. And God didn't say that. But Adam must have told her that. He said, don't eat it and don't even touch it. So it's like building a fence around the commandment.
Right. It's kind of the first Pharisee kind of situation, right? Yeah. So with that being said, what the weird thing about this creature is that Genesis tells us everywhere that God created it and it was either good or it was miod good. It was very good, right? Miod tov. And so with that being said, where does this creature come out with this notion of defying God? It seems to be something more than just an earthly snake as we think about it. Mm. And so we're going to kind of look at maybe some biblical evidence of it being more than that.
Yeah. Revelation 12 talks about the serpent, the red dragon, the serpent, Satan, and the devil, and basically all those terms are the same person, same being.
Yeah, so then so Satan in Hebrew means adversary.
Yeah.
And devil means slanderer. And when you look at it, Satan and the devil are the same thing, because an adversary is a slanderer, and a slanderer is an adversary.